So the last part of 7.2 is on B, division. So we did multiplying, adding, subtracting, we simplified, now looking at division. And the main thing with division is doing something that we did back in chapter 5. You have to rationalize the denominator. So if you're given, say 7 plus square root 10 over square root 2, you can't have that square root of 2 in the denominator. You have to rationalize it. So just like before, to get rid of the square root, we're going to multiply by square root of 2. Now, if you're going to multiply square root of 2 on the bottom, you also have to do it up top. Okay? Now, the bottom part, I'm hoping we're good enough. We can skip showing some of this work. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4, which goes to 2. So we have 2 in our denominator. That's what we're hoping for. Up top, you have to remember, it's a distributive property. It's not just square root of 10 times square root of 2. You have to multiply that 7 as well. 7 square root 2 plus square root 20. And then you need to look and see what you can simplify. Square root 20 goes to 2 square root of 5, so 7 square root 2 over 2 plus 2 square root 5 over 2. And things simplify a little bit. There'd be your final answer. Okay? You really need to take a look at the problem and decide what you're going to multiply by and what you need to multiply by. So here we have square root of 5x squared divided by 6 square root 8x. Now there are some things you could simplify here first. This is just a suggestion. I like to do my rationalizing first, because then you're not just allowed to simplify one time after you've done the rationalizing. If you simplify now, rationalize, you might have to simplify again later after you multiply. Now, to rationalize this, we have 6 square root of 8x in the denominator. There's nothing wrong with that 6. You're allowed to have that. So when I multiply this, I'm going to do square root 8x, square root 8x. You can do 6 square root 8x. Your numbers are just going to be a little bigger, so when you simplify, you're just going to have bigger numbers to deal with. But you can do that way. Some people like doing that, just whatever's in the denominator, that's what they're going to multiply by. So multiplying this, we're going to end up with square root 40x cubed in the numerator. Down below, remember, square root 8x, square root 8x. That gives us square root 64x squared, which goes to 8x. Okay, it just cancels out. Now, 6 times 8x, 48x. And again, we have something to simplify up top. Now, think back to the beginning of this chapter, or the beginning of this section. Square root of 40x cubed. Okay, factor tree for 40 would give me 2 square root of 10. And that x cubed, 2 goes into 3 one time. So we're going to have 2x square root 10x. Because 2, remember the index is 2, goes into 3 one time with 1x left over. 48x. And now simplify what you can simplify. 2 over 48 is 1 over 24. The x's will cancel out. So we're going to have square root of 10. Like I said, this goes to 24. The x's cancel each other out. Square root of 10x over 24. Okay? So there's 2 examples. And the last example, both these had a single term in the denominator. I'm going to do one example when we have a binomial in the denominator. I am erasing the whole board because there's a chance this problem does get kind of big. Let's look at 3 plus square root, let's say 6, divided by 4 plus square root 3. Now what we have here is 2 terms in the denominator. We can't have that square root of 3. Now like the last problem where we kind of didn't multiply by the 6, that's because it was a single term and the square root was on a simplify out, cancel out, by just doing the square root of 8. Here we're going to have to multiply by the conjugate. Remember what happens. We did this back in chapter 6 when we multiplied by conjugates. The radicals are either going to cancel out or simplify. 4 minus square root 3. 4 minus square root of 3. And you can see, this is going to be a lot of work. Okay? You have to do double distribute. You're not just multiplying single terms here. You need to do your double distribute, FOIL, whatever method you like to go by. So up top, we're going to have 12 minus 3 square root of 3 plus 4 square root of 6 minus square root of 18. Down below, we're going to have 16 minus 4 square root of 3 plus 4 square root of 3 minus square root of 9. And when you look how things simplify, if you can do factor trees, do it. So up top, the 12 is good, minus 3 square root of 3 is good, 4 square root of 6 is good. The minus square root of 18, that can simplify to 3 square root of 2. Doing a factor tree for that. Down below, negative 4 square root of 3, 4 square root of 3 cancel out. Minus square root of 9 is 3. 16 minus 3 is 13. So what we have is 12 over 13 minus 3 square root of 3 over 13 plus 4 square root of 6 over 13 minus 3 square root of 2 over 13. Now I write it as all small fractions because it helps see if anything can simplify. Okay, so I suggest the small fractions. In this case, nothing can simplify. 13 is a prime number, so nothing's going into it. There's our final answer, and that is the last video and the end of section 7.2.